Welcome to the Sales Squared Podcast, your destination for leveling up in sales, marketing, and business development.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Join us to hear real entrepreneurs with real experiences, engaging with real experts from the world of sales, business, and entrepreneurship. And now for another Sales Squared Value Bomb.
Good day. Welcome to another episode of the Sales Squared Podcast. Mr. Scott Hennessy, how are you doing today?
Oh, so cold, man. It's so cold outside.
It is cold. We've had a little bit of snow and it's definitely, we're in the depths of winter right now, but almost at the end of January, so it's been a good month, and it's been, we hope it's been a good month for everyone listening and they've had a productive start to the year.
Yeah, for sure. You think about some of the stuff you set over Christmas and look about like where you are now. It's crazy to see like the difference we made, especially for me and Cam. We've been on a real good flight lately. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the work that we put in, and we haven't actually put a podcast out for a couple of weeks now, but obviously back onto the regular scheduled programming now. But it's been busy times. So we did set a lot of goals in December, and we're starting to hit them early on, or at least be on the right trajectory to hit them for the year. So it's been a good start. So. Awesome stuff there on our end, but today really it's all about a book that I read that had a massive impact on me, which was the Challenger Sale. So I read this book. I just actually finished it about a week ago, and I've been kind of making some notes on it, and really today me and Scott are going to have a discussion about the book. Now Scott hasn't actually read the book because he's been naughty and hasn't read the book yet, but the way we're going to try and position it is basically I'm going to chat all about the book and kind of some of the key points that I thought were really profound and helped me in my sales process and my thinking, and then Scott's going to come in as someone who hasn't read the book, aka maybe the listener if you haven't read the book, and ask some questions that come to mind and anything that he thinks of in terms of questions or anything he wants to find out, and we can hopefully, if you can't be bothered to read the book or you don't have time to read the book, then you can just listen to this and get a really good gist of it. So let's start with the review. So first and foremost, this was one of the best sales books that I've read for sure. So I've read Spin Selling and books like that, and they were right up there as well. But this one was probably the biggest one that I've had in terms of a paradigm shift, especially with a lot of the things that I picked up in sales early on in my career, and reading books and listening to authors and speakers and whatnot. There's always kind of been this methodology within sales, or this framework that a lot of practitioners, a lot of salespeople and business people like to use, and it's a really good way to uncover people's feelings, uncover people's desires, uncover what people want to achieve. But for this one, it was really a bit of a paradigm shift in terms of the approach to sales. So let's begin. So for years and years in sales, we've been told really that good salespeople are relationship builders, right? So that's characterized by their ability to get along with people, get along with prospects, generously give their time, and for all intents and purposes bend over backwards, I guess, for their prospects. Do a lot of work in that regard. So basically what the guys who CEB, who wrote the Challenger Sale, did is they did a study on over 6,000 salespeople around the globe, and they developed these different kinds of salespeople. So they actually developed 5 different types of salespeople. So they've got the hard worker. So the hard worker is characterized by their ability to always go the extra mile. They don't give up. They're self-motivated. They're always interested in feedback and self-development, and basically they see sales as a numbers game. So if they interact with the right amount of people in their target market, then it's inevitable that they're going to hit their numbers because they see it like that. And I actually saw a lot of myself in that characterization in terms of being able to be someone who can outwork a lot of other people, being able to be someone who it doesn't get fazed by the rejection or whatever it may be in sales, and being able to keep grinding on in that respect. So I kind of saw a little bit of myself here. I also saw a little bit of myself, funnily enough, in the Challenger, which is someone who always has a different view of the world, looks at different perspectives of the world. They understand on a very, very deep level their customer's business. They quite like to debate, and they quite like to push the customer sometimes on specific things, and they're not afraid to disagree if needs be with customers to kind of get their point across. From there, we have the relationship builder. So again, the relationship builder, who everyone for decades has kind of thought has been the the gold standard in sales. So the relationship builder, characterized, as I said, by building great relationships, generously giving their time, getting along with everyone. From there, we have the lone wolf. So the lone wolf basically is someone who follows their own instincts. They're very, very self-assured, and they're very difficult to control. So they don't really have a process. They're just naturally quite good salespeople and go out and do their own thing and get results, but there's no real way to, I guess, take what they do and bottle it up and say, here's the process of what we do, and give that to someone. So it's quite difficult to have those people within within your company. They can get results, but what they tell us in the Challenger sale is that as soon as they stop getting results, then usually they're the first ones to get the boot, because
are they kind of like the wild cards?
A little bit, yeah. They're the kind of the kind of people you probably met them, and know they do things their own way. They don't really care about necessarily the way that things should be done, and they just kind of do it, and they get results. So they don't get a question. And then finally we have the reactive problem solver. So this person reliably responds to internal and external stakeholders. So they're the one who's always kind of responding and maybe not proactively doing things, but reactively doing things. They ensure that problems are always solved, and these are the detail orientated kind of people who maybe scrutinize a little bit more, analyze a little bit more what's going on in their sales process. So those are the 5 types that we have. So Scott, who do you think was the best performing out of them? Just go with your gut instinct. Who do you think was the lowest performing?
I think it's quite interesting, right? I think, naturally, I read the book Zig Ziglar, Secrets of Closing the Sale, and I think the theme in that book was very, very, very heavily focused on relationships. I can remember it now, and just on that note, you told everyone at the start of that little bit. Then, it isn't all just about relationships. It's kind of a mix of all. But coming back to your question, I kind of like the challenger. I kind of like to. I think a big part about change and a big part about people to shift and buy on emotion is challenging the status quo. Yeah. They're so set in that way for so many years, so many months. And, a lot of people have these challenges that, they know it's bugging them, but are they actually going to do anything about it? And I guess that's where a challenger comes in, right? Being able to challenge, are you really being the best X, Y, or Z today? Is your system or process really the best it can be? What does that mean for internal, external stakeholders? So just on those kind of comments, Cam, I think a challenger appeals to me the most, but I would probably resonate with the hard worker just on the basis of that.
Absolutely. So basically what they found in the studies was that the very lowest performer was the relationship builder. So they were actually the worst performing in terms of results from all of those characteristics that they took from 6,000 salespeople, kind of grouped them into different areas. And what they found was contrary to what a lot of people would think, is that the relationship builders didn't actually get the results. Who did get the highest results by far was the challengers. The challengers, obviously the name of the book is Challenger Sales, kind of obvious that they would be the best ones. But basically the highest performers were the challengers, and the challengers really can be it's a very, very interesting kind of take on sales. So I did see kind of some of myself within this style, and I saw even some of yourself, Scott, in this style, but where I kind of saw us historically has always been in kind of the hard worker category. And I think that's great because it's given us a chance to learn a lot and experience a lot in quite a short space of time. But I can definitely see areas of the challenger, and since reading this book, I've tried to implement more and more of those skills that the challenger has, and I've seen some really great results in terms of the dialogues that I'm having, in terms of actual results, in terms of winning new partners and sales and whatnot. But it's been really interesting to kind of adopt these philosophies and see the quality of my interactions rise. And really, what the biggest thing that I've noticed is sales becoming more of a real dialogue that means something to prospects. It's not just a sales interaction, it's a real conversation about what matters to them and how we can help them. So these are kind of the characteristics of the challenger. So first and foremost, and very importantly, it's a deep intrinsic understanding of their customers' business and their customers' common challenges. So the challengers know really in depth their avatar, if you like. They know exactly the kind of things that are keeping them up at the night. They know exactly the kind of things that they generally are looking to achieve, and they have a really good understanding of that. Also, they use that ability or that they use that understanding, and they are able to push the customer's thinking and actually teach them new things about their business or their market, using that understanding of the customer, using that their personal understanding of the market, and then use that. And that's a big part of the challenger. It's being able to teach and being able to enlighten prospects on these particular points that may be going on. Also, challengers are comfortable having constructive debates with prospects, and they're able to thrive under the tension that creates. So what do we mean by that? Generally, a lot of customers out there, they're going to have these preconceived notions about their market, about their business, and if you present them some new information, they may not agree with it at first. So challengers are actually really comfortable not just backing away as soon as they mention something that may be out of the ordinary, but they're happy to actually go and have that debate and have that back and forth respectfully, of course, and not in an aggressive manner, definitely not, but in a respectful manner. They're able to debate with their customers about these issues.
Just a quick question there, Cam. Do you think there's, to be a really good challenger, do you think it requires an element of bravery?
Absolutely. I think a lot in sales is we think relationships are so crucial, so we'll do whatever we can not to piss off the prospect or annoy them or
tiptoe around.
Tiptoe around them. If they say something, you agree with it. You don't want to annoy them. You want them to like you, because a lot of people think that sales is all about people liking them, which is not true. It's actually about the quality of the insights you can provide. It's about the quality of the dialogue that you can have, and it's about if you can offer solutions that really, really hit on the customer's challenges, using your solutions kind of as the springboard after you can actually teach them something new, if that makes sense. So that's a whole other element that we'll get into in a minute, which is the teaching pitch. But just a few more of these characteristics of the challenger. So they offer up unique perspectives. So they actually have something bold, something new, something innovative to share with their prospects. It's not just the standard, this is what we do you want it? It's actually teaching something, having a really meaningful dialogue about something that's going on within their market. And then another caveat to the challenger is that they are more than comfortable discussing money with prospects. So again, into that kind of bravery aspect, I think a lot of salespeople will avoid talking about money for as long as they possibly can, but challengers will actually embrace that, and they'll build value, they'll have a good conversation, but they're not scared to talk about money. They're not scared to talk about the value of what their solution really provides.
Because at the end of the day, it's a transaction, right?
Regardless of the way exactly. We, as salespeople, as business owners, we have something really valuable to provide, and there's a price on that for a reason, because they're going to be receiving a lot of value, whoever invested in that. So it's a good belief to have, and an essential belief to have. If you if you believe in your product, then you naturally will become more of a challenger. Another thing is that challengers are able to adapt and communicate based on the context of the unique customer. So that's kind of a little bit about thinking on your feet, I think. So the ability to engage with customers, understand kind of their unique situation, think on your feet and act accordingly is a big area, and one that I've noticed more and more is becoming a big one for me. Being able to do a bit of research maybe on customers, find out a little bit about their unique situation, their past experiences, their preconceived notions, their goals, their situation, whatever it may be, and then being able to be agile and nimble and adapt to those.
Maybe just a quick thought there for people who are just starting out in sales. There's a lot of research, there's a lot of evidence you can collect before you go into a call, but there's only so much you can be prepared for a call. Like, I can think back now to several calls where it's just been flipped on its head, and I've had to use my initiative, like
Yeah.
you said,
Yeah.
and adapt to the context of the conversation. So I think you can be prepared to a point, but you can't always be 100% prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, of course, doing your due diligence, doing a bit of research is really, really crucial. But if you are a challenger, you do have that very deep understanding anyway of your general customers. You've kind of done that upfront research, so it's more of a case of finding out the unique situation that prospect is in.
Yeah.
And yeah, being able to adapt to these areas. One thing that actually came up for me is that a lot of salespeople have scripts, right? So it's a big part, and I always like to tell the story of the one time that I got called out. Someone said, "Hey, are you reading from a script?" Was actually the one time when I wasn't. I didn't have my script in front of me. Usually I have some points that I'm going to touch upon, some areas that I'm going to hit upon, and the one time I don't have that, people actually think that I might be reading from a script. So it's very, very interesting, and you know, I've had a script for most of my sales career and career as a business owner, and the whole time I've never been called out. No one's ever said, "Hey, you're reading from a script." It just doesn't happen. If you know your script well, if you know the points that you're going to talk about, it's just guiding the conversation in the right way. And the great thing about a script is that it allows you to listen better, because you're not thinking about what you're going to say next. You're not thinking about the next part of the conversation, where it's going to go. You can actually have that in front of you, those prompts to remind you about the conversation or the topic that you're going to discuss with your prospect, and really listen to what they're telling you, which is absolutely crucial, maybe the most important thing in sales.
Yeah, for sure. I think you know, I've known you for a long time now, right? And we're always kind of refining and adding bits and things to the script. But since reading the Challenger book, have you thought about certain questions you might include in your script to challenge the prospect?
Yeah, so that's a big one actually, and we can get onto this a little bit, or we can talk about it now actually. So there's this part of the process of the Challenger sale called the warmer, which is the introductory kind of element of the sales process, and instead of kind of conducting a discovery that most people do, you know, they'll maybe say hello, set a bit of an agenda for the call, talk about the weather or whatever it is, and then get into their discovery phase. And often customers have had this so many times. They've spoken to salespeople in the past, and it's always the same. It's question A, question B, question C, question D, and what they talk about in the Challenger sale, which I agree with, is that customers just get bored of that. They get bored of answering the same questions again and again and again, and a lot of the time they're not even meaningful questions. They're just quite standard questions that every other salesperson is going to be asking them. So basically, instead of conducting this discovery, what they tell us in the Challenger sale, and what I've actually been doing a lot within my sales, is instead of this drawn out, rigid or even forced process of discovery, it's assuming the prospect's challenges based on what you're seeing with your clients in the market, based on your past experiences with clients like them, and based on the work you're doing right now. So what you can do here is actually share some kind of insightful data points or anecdotes that provide real value. By assuming these kind of things, you stand out from 90% of other salespeople and immediately position yourself as an expert. If you can say, hey John, you know, we've worked with a number of companies similar to yours, and we found that these 3 challenges come up again and again as by far some of the most troubling in the market right now. Is that what you're seeing too, or would you add anything else to that list? If you actually reel off a couple of the challenges that they're having right now, they're immediately going to think, wow, this guy's an expert, this guy knows my field, this guy knows my business. So yeah, never underestimate the value in being able to kind of demonstrate to your customers that they're not alone when it comes to their challenges, and that you know the kind of challenges that they're experiencing. So that's kind of one big paradigm shift, and actually one really, really actionable piece of advice from the book. And then you can lead into that with a what they call a teaching pitch. So a lot of the time in sales, we have this presentation or the pitch, which is basically this kind of summary of what it is that you do, right? It's and of course, we need to tell our prospects, you know, this is what we offer you, this is what we can do for you, this is the kind of results we can achieve. But instead, what the book tells you to do is basically create this teaching presentation. So it's kind of an art, and they call it commercial teaching, and it's basically highlighting a new insight, a problem, a new opportunity, a new trend that prospect will not know about, that doesn't lead with your solution, but leads to your solution. So you can talk about something that's going on in the market, you can talk about what you're seeing with other clients, you can talk about what's going on in the future or what's coming up in the future, and basically you can tie that into what it is that you offer, and then your solution is the obvious solution based on those unique perspectives that you've kind of provided. So what that's doing is, instead of being, again, like every other salesperson, it's kind of a breath of fresh air, because you've taught something new to your prospect, and then you've actually straight away said, hey, this is the solution to it. We have the solution. We've done a lot of work into understanding these kind of challenges, and now we have a solution that really hits the nail on the head with this.
And just, we've done loads of sales calls over the past 6-9 months, whatever. And by us really asking those questions, I just believe that the trust is so easy to build. There's not been one call where someone's been a bit like, who's this guy? Or he's asking me too many like delicate or difficult questions. I feel that within that first 2, 3, 4 minutes of asking those simple questions that actually lead to a greater solution, like, the trust has been there, and that's really helped us, I think, in terms of growing our business.
And it's not even just about asking the questions, it's about providing something new, something insightful that they didn't know. That's the real way to kind of stand out. After you've kind of assumed some of their challenges, dived a little bit deeper if you need to, maybe use something like spin questions, which is not in the book, but just a personal recommendation, to kind of draw out what some of the big challenges are. But then, when you're presenting, when you're letting your prospects know this is what we do, think of something that and there's probably, if you're in a business or if you're in sales, you will know things that prospect doesn't. So think about how you can apply that principle of teaching them something new, and then prospects should naturally say, wow, that's an issue I hadn't thought about before. They may push back on a little bit at the first, and that's kind of where the debating comes in, and being able to push back a little bit on prospects.
I think also you're a lot more memorable when you're prospecting.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's a big thing. I think it's about standing out from every other salesperson who has the same approach. Another thing they say is that your teaching presentation, it should create not just an airtight logical case, but also an emotional case. So you want to make your prospect kind of feel sick about this opportunity they're missing out on, or this revenue they're missing out on through the anecdote that you provide. And then, for example, like, let's say that you're a social media marketing company, as an easy example. If you can talk, if you're like every other salesperson for these kind of companies, you're just going to straight away come out with your solution, say, hey, this is what we can do for you, X, Y, Z, do you want it? But what about instead you could talk about all of the different platforms, which ones are performing the best, which ones anecdotally and supported by data are creating the highest amount of sales. You can actually paint that picture, you can provide the evidence for it, you can provide a very, very detailed portrayal of what's going on, so it's easy to understand. It's still concise, but it delivers some instantly valuable information for that prospect to consider for their marketing, or for their sales, or whatever it may be. And then you can say, hey, we've taken all of this research, we know what works, we know what doesn't, we've got the evidence to back it up, and this is what we've done. We've created this solution based on this platform, which highlights this particular market who are very, very responsive on there, and this is what we can do for you. So
it's kind of like saying, like, we've done all the hard work.
Exactly.
Here's how easy it is to start.
Exactly. We've done all the hard work, here's the information to support it, and here's the easy to implement way to get started with us. So that's kind of the paradigm shift there. It's a much more proactive way to conduct sales calls. It requires a bit more preparation, I think, in terms of tweaking things and being able to actually provide something that's of real value instead of just regurgitating whatever your business does. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting way to go about the call.
So
go
about
the process.
So interesting. And I think one of the kind of points I wanted to ask you, and this is quite interesting, this could be a separate podcast, but I did want to get your thoughts on this, Cam. So challenges are born, not made. What are your thoughts on that? Challenges are born, not made.
I would say it's the other way around.
Yeah?
Yeah. I would say that challenges are made, not born. So no one's born with the ability to, or people are more naturally predisposed to it, but no one's really born with the ability to follow this process and to come out and provide do a lot of research into being able to assume the kind of challenges that prospects have, and being able to develop something that really teaches, and that's an art in itself, being able to teach. So I would say no one can walk into a new business or a new job and be able to deliver a challenger style presentation or be a challenger, because it requires a very, very in-depth understanding of the market. It requires research. It requires the skills that are built up over time to be able to deliver insights and new perspectives to prospects. So I would say no one's born a challenger. People may be naturally a bit better at it than others, but people can be made into them by following this kind of process.
the reason I asked, like, I think back to university, and I think one of my courses was leadership development, funnily enough, and I think the essay title was are leaders born or made?
Right.
And I kind of went, well, they're made. But there's kind of like so many different perspectives on what is a good leader or what is a good salesperson. But I believe that if you want to be a good salesperson or a good leader, you have to adapt to something. I don't think you can just be born. That's just my opinion.
I think certain people are born to be better at certain things. Then there's a massive element that you can improve upon. Yeah. Massive, and it's unlimited the amount you can improve if you keep working on something. Like, for example, if you're born and you grow up and you're 5'2", you're probably not going to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
So there's a limit with some things, but you could, work extremely hard and still be better than 90% of the everyday person who plays basketball, even if you're a foot shorter, or whatever it is. Yeah. So that you can always improve. You can always work on things, and I think emotional intelligence comes into this quite a lot. So as they say, your IQ is maybe something that can't be increased dramatically, but your EQ, your emotional intelligence, can be increased tenfold. It just keeps going. It's unlimited if you keep working on it. You keep researching and practicing and applying principles that you learn. Then you're going to be able to improve really, really fast. So I think it's the same as sales, really. Yeah. Like, I don't think anyone's born a great salesperson. I think some people are maybe a little bit naturally better at it than others, but for the most part, it's work, it's experience, it's building it out over time and improving over time.
Yeah, that comes back to a comment I heard a couple of months back. I can't remember who told us, but we naturally think that the outgoing salesperson is going to be the most successful. But when we were talking to that person, it actually turned out to be the very detail-orientated person that was very good at sales. And it's because they challenged, they looked into the small granular detail of the process, the system, or whatever they're going to sell. So it's just really interesting. I think sales is such a diverse world. Yeah. And I think it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. I think you have what it takes to be a good salespeople. You just need the right people and education around you.
Exactly. I remember a book I read a while ago, To Sell is Human, by Daniel Pink.
Yeah.
That he kind of said this story about how forever people have thought that salespeople are extroverts and that those are the kind of people who make the best salespeople, but actually the best salespeople are not extroverts, they're not introverts, they're ambiverts, which is the middle ground between the two. So a lot of extroverts, they may be great at communicating or talking or presenting or whatever it is, but actually they're not that great at communicating, because a big part of communication is listening. It's being able to shut up and just listen to what your prospect is telling you, listen to what other people are telling you, and having actually a dialogue, a two-way dialogue. And I suppose that's why it's an ambivert, because they have the skills where they can listen, but also the skills where they can be more extroverted at times. Yeah. So I think that's the fine balance, and that doesn't mean to say that if you're an introvert or an extrovert that you can't work on the other end of the spectrum. So if you're a massive extrovert and you're great and you have no problem with nerves, you're really great at just communicating with people, meeting new people, but you struggle to listen, then work on that area. If you're a big introvert and you're a great listener, but you can't communicate as smoothly and it's more challenging for you to actually speak, then just really work on that and get uncomfortable, and over time you'll become more comfortable doing it.
Yeah, just all about that self-analysis. Something I've been working on quite hard. I'm a natural extrovert, but you know, getting a process like Cameron said, and being able to scale that process so we can generate X more leads, X more conversations, X more sales. It's really, really helped me over the last couple of months, and I guess that comes with emotional intelligence as well. It's about actually saying to yourself in the mirror, this is where I need to improve. Here's my strengths, here's my weaknesses. What am I going to do about it? So,
Absolutely.
Interesting stuff.
Absolutely. So coming back to the challenger sale, the last kind of point that I wanted to make that I think is just a massive element of being a challenger and being able to create dialogues that are just different to what every other salesperson is doing is actually the ability to take control of the sale and proactively, not aggressively, but proactively pursue your goal, which is to complete and advance the sale. I think if you can really believe in your product, and if you don't have a great product, if you don't work for a great company, then get out of there, because you're never going to be able to sell to your highest ability. But if you own a business and you fully believe in your product or your service, then you should be comfortable taking control, assuming the kind of challenges that your prospect has. And if they don't have those challenges, then great, you can end the call there and then. You don't need to waste your time pursuing prospects. And this is where I think a lot of relationship builders fall down, and potentially why they had the worst results is because they're so scared about ruining the relationship that they don't cut things off when they know deep down there's no opportunity, but they keep following it because they think, if I keep working on the relationship, maybe they'll come on. Whereas if you just kind of were more of a challenger and assumed some of the challenges that your prospects have, and if they do have them, then great, you can go on, provide some great perspective, some great insights to them. If they say, hey, no, I don't have those challenges, just say, okay, great, well, thanks for your time, and I hope you can continue to keep doing a great job of your business, and cut the call then, because there's no reason to try and build a relationship where leads aren't even qualified. So qualification is a big part of that, and I think that's potentially why the challengers are so effective, is because they can qualify out prospects early on, and when they do have qualified prospects, they know the blueprint to impressing them, to providing great insights, and to making them get to a position where they have received so much value and they see so much value in the solution that they want to buy from you.
Exactly. Time is money for a salesperson, and if your whole goal, no matter who you speak to, is to provide some sort of value, if you go in with that mindset, you're never going to have a bad call ever, because you're there to help, and that's what sales is all about. 100%.
Awesome. Well, I think we should cap it off there.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
Definitely worth a read, The Challenger Sale. It's one of the books that I've read that's been a bit of a paradigm shifter for me. And yeah, there's bits of it where I really agree with, there's bits where I don't maybe agree as much. But as with any book, just take out the parts that really resonate with you and see how you can apply them in your business, and move forward from there.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Yeah, peace out.
Peace.